What's happening, players? Welcome to the show. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's November, but I've already had about a dozen people ask me about games they should get for their brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever you know on the planet. So, I thought it best to perhaps give a few suggestions as to games that I would buy and games I'd probably steer clear of for the time being. This will be a PS5 and Xbox Series X and S free zone. The fact is, boys and girls, unless you've already got your pre-order, the chances of you getting one before Christmas and actually keeping your sanity is quite slim. So here are the games that start off with what you can get for PS4 and Xbox One. Okay, so starting us off, we have Cyberpunk 2077, the latest offering from CD Projekt Red. Now, the reason that I'm already excited about this is because CD Projekt Red don't tend to release any turkeys. The last thing they actually released was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which has subsequently gone on to be the inspiration for the Netflix hit series The Witcher, starring Henry Cavill. That was a phenomenal game, probably still in my top 5, potentially even of all time. So when it comes to CD Projekt Red, they're not messing about. It's a completely different intellectual property now though. They're looking at a dystopian future with a cyberpunk setting, hence the title. Most of the game is played in first person. There's some third person elements when you're actually doing any of the driving, but the exciting part of this is always what CD Projekt Red do well, which is moral based dialogue choices. So basically whatever you choose to be in the game will impact on how the story plays out. That actually leads itself to great replayability, meaning you can make the good choice and the bad choice, whatever, and see how that pans out. It's one of the last major titles that was confirmed for PS4 and Xbox One back, I think it was almost 4 or 5 years ago now that the original murmurings of this came about. The good thing is, if you do buy it for your PS4 or Xbox One, it will have a translatable period to the newer consoles, but this is a great reason to get that dust off your PS4 or Xbox One if it's collecting it, waiting for the new consoles, and just play what could be one of the games of the year. It looks like the characters will be super bizarre, the costumes just as, the world itself looks ingrained in detail and colour and all sorts of things that just make a game something that you want to dive into. So for me, Cyberpunk 2077 is an easy, surefire hit, something that you can buy this for somebody and they will get something out of it. Some of the games on this list, they're only really good for Christmas Day perhaps, but this is a hit for me, so this is a recommendation. Available for PS4, Xbox One, you can get that from the beginning of December, I believe. Okay, so now another big instalment into a long-running franchise that we've got here. Assassin's Creed Valhalla represents possibly the most ambitious instalment in Ubisoft's long-running saga. The reason I say the most ambitious is because they've taken a year out. Now, usually Assassin's Creed is very good at releasing something every single year. They've taken a year out this time, and I think it will be absolutely worth the delay. There's a number of gameplay changes that have been put in. So, for example, it's not just littered with what seems like kind of obligatory side quests just to fill out the game. The side quests, I think, now mean something to the actual overall game, which is great. The gameplay looks like it's been refined a little bit in as much as it's not quite as cut and paste, different enemy, different scenario sort of thing, but you have largely the same feeling. So I think they've worked really hard on making sure that that's something different, especially as when we do move into new console territory. What's important to remember is that we can't just carry on releasing rebadged versions of the same game, something that another game I'm going to mention on this list has a huge problem with. Assassin's Creed is a massive intellectual property and will get bought by hundreds of people across the country. It's a safe bet. They've taken their time, it looks like it's set in a really cool Viking world. There's lots of humour possibilities with Assassin's Creed and Vikings, so I'm excited to get my hands on this one. It would be interesting to see how much different it is compared to previous games. I've got a feeling this might upset a few traditional Assassin's Creed players, which is, to be honest, favoured those who don't particularly play a lot of video games in history. They could do with a really good one as well. For me personally, yeah, Odyssey was great and Black Flag was good as well. I can't off the top of my head remember any other ones in the last 5-10 years or so that I've really enjoyed though, so it needs it. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla, thumbs up from me. Obviously, those first 2 games are not amazingly kid-friendly, so let's move on to one that perhaps the kids are screaming for. Okay, this represents my first big warning, okay? I would say, at this point in time, this is not a game for children under 10, okay? There are 3 reasons for that. Number 1, it's £100. Okay, that's a lot of money to be spending on anybody under 10 who isn't absolutely addicted to doing what they're doing. Yeah, fantastic that people have found their way with Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, that kind of thing, but they're usually quite cheap to buy. This is £100. Now, it actually splits into a couple of sections as to why that £100 isn't great value for money. You don't actually get a physical game. You only get a download code to download the actual game from on your actual Switch. You only get 1 cart. So that's either the Mario or Luigi edition of what you've bought. So if you want to do more than 1 player on the same track, you've got to be spending multiples of £100 each time. The carts aren't waterproof. So if you've got any kids that knock over any drinks on them, that's it, they're done. The gates that you get to set up the actual track, you only get 4 of them. Now, granted, you can buy more of them, but it feels like you're buying like recycling almost, because they're only cardboard. They're not like their state-of-the-art, like actual metal gates you get given. No, they're cardboard. And that means as well, secretly they don't tell you, because they want you to buy more, you need to weigh them down. They can quite easily get broken. I'm not sure about this game at all in general right now, because it feels like they've had a great idea, and yes, it looks great, and if you've got people who look after their toys, then it will be fine. But the truth is, this seems like something that Nintendo will absolutely clear up on, and people having to buy replacements or multiples thereof of the gates. It's a great idea. In theory, having Mario Kart around your house is great. Practically though, it just doesn't seem like the best idea, especially if you've got that going on whilst you've got a million other things to do around the house. Like it just seems like perhaps not the best practical idea. Financially, not the best idea. Gameplay, I think it's great, but like with Mario Kart, if we're being honest, it's not something you can play for 5, 6, 7 hours on end without either questioning your own sanity or having to, it's a revenge battle basically, isn't it, if you're having to play for that long. So I'd steer clear of this one, pun intended, unless you desperately want it. I can see the value in it, but at the same time, if it's one of those things that, oh, that looks like quite good fun, just get normal Mario Kart, you'll be fine. Oh dear God, looking at this game again is bringing back some awful memories. This was my first actual Grumpy Gamer Grades video I did a few weeks ago after it launched at the beginning of September. Please don't buy this game. If you're buying it for someone as a present, it is going to, if you're buying it for someone as a present, it will feel so lacking value when they actually play it. Once you get past the first 5-10 minutes or so, which for me is still the most fun part of it, the game is just a repetitive series of one mission, just with slightly different environments and slightly different enemies each time. I know that the clamour from kids will be, get me the Avengers, get me the Avengers. Trust me, please, if you can find a way to get them something else, do it. This is a sort of game where developers need to actually be held accountable, to be honest. It's a mess, it's broken, it's glitchy as hell. They've had so many patches that have come out from it. It's just stealing your money. If I didn't know that they were going to enhance the game with further additions and all sorts of new things in the next few months or so, I'd have already sold my copy. It really was quite a disappointing thing to do. And to be honest, the signs were there. Although it was on a few buses and there was a few TV spots here and there, I don't actually remember seeing too much clamour for this game at all. As a result of it, please, at least have a conversation with the people who want you to buy this game for them and just see if there's an alternative, because for sheer enjoyment and actually feeling like Christmas is going to be enjoyable this year, which may not be possible, I'd go with something else. The Avengers really haven't turned up this time, and I think this is something you can definitely sit out of. If you do need to get it though, it's available for PS4, Xbox One and PC. Okay, so we've got a couple of bad suggestions under our belt. Now it's time for a really good one. Just as a little caveat to this, the Nintendo Switch this week has made it into the top 10 of best-selling consoles of all time, which to some might be a little shock considering how parodied and how shunned it can be in the public market. The Xbox One, just as a little bit of additional info, doesn't even make the top 10. So, this one. This is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and if you've been on my channel for longer than 5 minutes, you will have seen that I did a preview of this, of the demo that was released a few weeks ago, and if I'm being incredibly honest, this looks amazing. Great soundtrack, great look, looks like the gameplay is polished to a fine tee, everything you'd want and more. It looks like it's perfect for children to play as like a pick up and go thing, but at the same time it's complex enough for an adult to get quite a lot out of it. This is a sort of thing that would fill a couple of hours, no problem. Perhaps it might get a touch repetitive. We don't know until the actual game launches, which is next week, but for me, this is 100% an easy recommendation for someone that you don't know what to buy. I would take the risk. This is something that could really, really work for those people you're not sure of. So for me, 2 thumbs up. Right, now here's a game that most likely lots and lots of Christmas trees will have under them this year, and it's one I think you should steer clear of. The problem we have from games like FIFA and from Pro Evolution Soccer is that now they're trying to almost reinvent the wheel. For me, they got the formula right. I remember FIFA 15, 16, I enjoyed them. They were probably the last entries I actually enjoyed playing. Since then, they've been littered with problems, whether it's passing issues, they're not fast enough, the game itself is too fast, or they're too slow, goals are too easy to score. You name an issue with the game, you've probably had it. There's also the moral issue of how much money that's spent on the match packs, the Ultimate Team packs, or FIFA Ultimate Team, which I know that the government are actually trying to reassign as gambling so that they can get almost, I think it's an 18 plus certificate on FIFA, which, it should never have come to that. There's no way me sitting here talking to you right now is going to change whether you've already bought this or you're going to buy it for someone. There are people that would buy FIFA every single year, even if on startup it called you an idiot. So in terms of me trying to dissuade you, it's not really going to happen unless you're able to listen to me with it. Like, yes, it's fine, but I'm one of the biggest football fans I've ever met, and I haven't bought FIFA in 4 years. I tried Pro Evolution Soccer last year. It was a £5 on the PS Store, so I thought, why not? That was okay. I would not have paid any more than a £5 for it, and I think with FIFA, they're absolutely taking us for mugs a little bit. The gameplay, as far as I know from this year's edition, has needed patch after patch after patch to work, and it just feels a little bit broken. I'm not getting involved in it. If it's something that your family absolutely has to have, fine. But if you're not sure, and I think this is what this video really is about, if you're not sure what to get someone, there's better options. And the truth is, this is an absolute stamped in time issue. Next year, there will be another FIFA. So they've got a year to sort it out. And if that's better, I'll tell you, don't worry. But for now, if you're not sure, this is worth a pass for me. Pun intended. So they're my actual video game tips for this year. But I'm not going to leave you without my number 1 tip. And that is to invest in some kind of voucher. So whether that's your PlayStation Store voucher, Xbox vouchers, Nintendo Store vouchers, that would be something that you can use either on PS4 or indeed, when you do get them, PS5, Xbox Series X. So whilst you may not be considering buying an actual video game now, it might be something that the person in your life that you're buying this for would appreciate when it comes to actually getting a game in the future. Also, thinking about that, the stores themselves are littered with deals that you won't find on actual physical copy websites. So, especially with the launch of the new consoles, the actual stores themselves for previous editions surely will go down. We've already seen some hilariously low prices this week. For a long time now, the Metal Gear Solid 5 Definitive Edition has been £3.19. Now, say what you want about the story, it was rubbish. The gameplay itself is Game of the Year material. So, things like that, give them a voucher for 30 quid or so. There's probably about 5 or 6 games they'll pick up there for £5, £6, £7, £8 a go. I can't see an issue there, other than the fact I just accidentally referenced steps. So, if you like my videos, you know what to do. Like, share and subscribe. hope you're all well. I think that's the main thing at the moment. It's a difficult time. Christmas might not be as expected. And hopefully I've saved you a few quid. There are a few games in there, especially Mario Kart and maybe even FIFA. I think you can skip out on. But to all of you, I wish you all the health in the world, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye bye.